So we'll take a little walk around the garden on this late August day. I just wanted to walk around the garden and show you some things that are still thriving and some things that are not. This one definitely is pushing hard. This is the Holy Grail hibiscus, and this is its second flush of blooms. Now, the thing about the hibiscus is that it wants water. It needs water to perform like this. So if nothing else gets watered, I make sure to water my hibiscus and my hydrangeas, because these blooms are just so gorgeous. And even the leaves are amazing. I've also found that the insects are not as attracted to the dark-leaved hibiscus as they are to the bright green leaf hibiscus. So, Holy Grail, yes, she's a winner. This is a Uruguayan firecracker plant, and it is perennial. It comes back every year, late summer. And again, I love that gray foliage and the texture that it gives next to the black-eyed Susans. So now is a great time to look around your garden and see what things are still pushing, so that you can add more of that to your garden, so that in the late summer, you still have things growing and blooming. Now check this out. This is a hydrangea that I thought was dead. The entire plant died back, and then it sprouted some new branches, and it has one bloom on it, but she is an amazing bloom. We still have a few volunteer black-eyed Susans here in front of my little frog. And I added some blanket flowers to the garden. And those will thrive. I just planted those about a week ago, but they will really multiply and spread if given the opportunity. The Gara is having its, well, I won't even say second flush, because this blooms all summer long. And then in the back, you can see my phlox. That has come back each year for the last few years, so I'm really happy about that. If you ever want to add an annual to your garden that gives big impact, add the sweet potato vine. I think I planted 2 sweet potato vines over here, and look at this. It is huge. It has swallowed up a hydrangea that I planted here. But it's actually okay, because that hydrangea was struggling, and the sweet potato vine has given it a little shade, especially down by its roots, keeping it from drying out. I have another hydrangea that's being covered by this sweet potato vine, but those blooms sticking out I think is so cute. And these are little lime hydrangeas here in the front of the garden. Now this one, it's pretty big, but it has struggled with all of the heat we've had. So I've been trying to keep that watered, but you know, it's doing its best. This is my Dawn Eagle Redbud. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. But it has a lot of new growth on it. This is the first full year in the garden. So we'll see how it continues to perform in this full sun garden bed. Now, I do a terrible job of staking, and this little lime hydrangea has these huge blooms on it this year. This is probably its 4th year in my garden. And they are just leaning over, and I keep telling myself to stake them up so that these branches don't start growing horizontal to the ground. But man, they're gorgeous. Look how huge this bloom is. So let's take a look at the zinnia hedge. I have not done much maintenance on this hedge. I try to come out and water it when I remember to. And a lot of the blooms are done, but that's okay. I still think it is a beautiful sight. And the butterflies still enjoy this space so much. And my neighbors, they love to see these little blooms. So I'm very satisfied with how this hedge turned out in the health strip. Here's another sweet potato vine that has gone wild. I planted 3 in this bed and they are happy. I love the sweet potato vine because it really looks like a shrub in the summertime. The way it spreads and covers an area, it's really a ground cover. It's even growing up into the fire chief arborvitae. And even on the front side of this garden, it is spilling over into the sidewalk. And I like how it looks. It won't damage the fire chief arborvitae. That sweet potato vine is just kind of inching its way into any open crevice here. And then I'll start cutting it back soon. But I love it. Look at the color on that. All those different shades of green, I think, are amazing. So I want to go ahead and get this on film. So these are some hydrangeas that I'm hoping will like this spot and thrive over here. So I want to make documentation of what they look like now and then check back next year and see how they are thriving. I recently added a limelight prime to this area. I took out a bobo hydrangea. I had 3 bobo hydrangeas this year and they just really didn't do much for me this year. I plan to move them to an area that gets a little more shade because the bobo hydrangea it wasn't doing it for me. But I put this one here to balance out the other hydrangeas that are in this bed. And let's talk about this Adora hibiscus, who is putting on a second flush of blooms. And this one is huge. You can see the branches have even fallen over and how thick those branches are in there. But there are 3 in this bed, and this one is so magnificent. So as I move along here, you'll see this other hydrangea planted. So I wanted to kind of balance it out by putting in that other hydrangea towards the end of the bed. So here's another Adora hibiscus. You can see the size difference compared to that first one. My feijoa trees or feijoa shrubs are doing really well. I am hoping for fruit again this year. And I've been watching them closely because for some reason the fruit, I don't notice the fruit until it actually starts falling onto the ground. So this is another feijoa shrub here, also known as pineapple guava. Let me back up and show you this ornamental grass that I love so much. I love this time of year because look at what it does to the side of this garden. Just that light, airy look that it gives the garden is spectacular. My limelight hydrangeas planted in this garden have really thrived this year. And you can see my loquat tree behind them. So I've enjoyed this bed a lot this year. I have a patch of zinnias here. You can see my hydrangeas get a bit scorched in the summertime. I'm in zone 8, South Carolina, and this South Carolina heat is something special. I love how the leaves of this variegated iris are just kind of growing up through the hydrangeas. That is a early spring bloomer, but the foliage on it is so pretty. You can also see a vitex in this area. This is, oh, let's see if I can remember the name. Something blues. Oh, I'll have to look it up. Delta Blues. Delta Blues vitex. And there's another riding spider. And then as we look up, that is my smoke bush. I bought that as a little twig, and she is growing up. This big green plant is an aster, Elliott's aster. I planted it last year. It did not bloom last year, so we'll see. We'll see what it does, but it is as tall as the chocolate mimosa right beside it. So I'll see how it performs, and I might have to move that because I don't know about that being positioned right there. But along the edge, I have more zinnias that I'm very pleased with. And under the chocolate mimosa are some more zinnias and some autumn joy sedum propagations that are very happy down here. This is a little zebra grass. I don't know if it's a maiden grass or fountain grass, but it's an ornamental grass, and you can see the little blooms coming up. And in front of that hydrangea, isn't that gorgeous, the way those look together? The island bed is still holding on. I have zinnias, castor beans, sunflowers planted in this bed. And they have struggled with all of the heat we've had. But we still have some that are thriving. Oh, I see a hibiscus bloom here that I didn't see yesterday. If you guys watch my channel often or my Instagram, you know that I love my Tetrapanix plant. Look at the leaves on that. Those leaves are so stunning. And it spreads through this bed very easily. I started with one plant that was given to me by the Colorful Gardener. I always have to give him a shout out. And they pop up all throughout this bed. The Autumn Joy sedum are performing really well in this garden. I have a really tall one right there. And it doesn't flop over, fingers crossed. But so far, so good. I'm really excited about this plant. This is a variegated Joe Pye weed. It doesn't get as tall as the other Joe Pye weed varieties, but I love that color. And the Mars Madness hibiscus are still pushing. Like I said, if I don't water anything, I make sure to water the hibiscus and the hydrangeas. So this is their second flush. That hydrangea in the back It's hard to water that one because it's so far away, but the water hose that I use, or the attachment that I use, gets a little distance on it, so I use it and it helps me to keep that watered. I love how the autumn joy sedum has performed this year. It's beginning to flower. Some of the branches have fallen over, and I haven't gotten back out here to collect them, but they're starting to root on the ground as they fall over. So I'll make sure to do some propagations on those as well. And I just mix this area with different types of sedum. You can see that the color and the branching on this one are a little different from the others. Can't remember the name of it. I think it's Matrona, maybe. But I love this little corner. I love all these little corners of my garden that change and evolve and just take on their own beauty. And we'll finish this quick tour with this zinnia. This is a volunteer zinnia, and it is very happy. I usually do a hedge in the backyard of zinnias, but I didn't do it this year. Instead, I did the hedge in the front yard, the health strip. But I was very excited to see this zinnia pop up. Thanks for joining me on this quick morning walk this morning. I hope that you guys continue to garden and get out there, even as the seasons change. Enjoy each season. Your garden has a personality year-round, and get to know your garden year-round.